I'm writing this because I need someone to know, someone to understand why I've done what I've done. I don't expect forgiveness. Maybe I just want to feel like this isn't all in my head. My name is Hayato Ishikawa. Was a surgeon at Koryo Medical Center in Tokyo. My colleagues used to call me the Miracle Doctor. I took pride in that name. Saving lives was my purpose, my identity. I thought I was untouchable, invincible even. Until 3 weeks ago, I was leaving the hospital after an 18-hour shift. A grueling day, even by my standards. 2 surgeries, endless consultations. My hands were sore from the work, but I felt the familiar satisfaction of knowing I had made a difference. Ayaka, my girlfriend, and one of the head nurses, was waiting for me outside.
Long day?
She asked, leaning against my car with a worried smile. Longer than usual, I replied. I tried to sound upbeat, but I was exhausted. Why are you still here?
I wanted to make sure you're okay. You've been pushing yourself too hard.
She always worried. That was one of the things I loved about her. I kissed her forehead and promised to call her tomorrow. Then I took a shortcut home, through the alleys behind the hospital. I'd walked that way 100 times before. It was faster, quieter, harmless. That night, it wasn't harmless. The alley was dark, the only light coming from a flickering street lamp a few meters ahead. The smell of trash and damp concrete filled the air. I heard a faint rustling, like someone shifting through the shadows. My instincts, honed by years of surgeries and emergencies, kicked in. "Is someone there?" I called out. Nothing, just silence. I told myself it was probably a stray cat and kept walking. But then it happened. Someone lunged at me from the darkness. I barely had time to react before I was slammed to the ground. I felt teeth, sharp, inhuman, sink into my arm. The pain was blinding, and the smell of their breath, rancid and metallic, made me gag. I tried to fight, to scream, but it clamped a hand over my mouth. Its strength was monstrous. Then, just as suddenly as it began, it ended. The weight lifted, and the attacker disappeared into the shadows. My arm was bleeding badly, but the pain was nothing compared to the terror. I staggered home, my mind racing. Who or what had attacked me? When I woke up the next morning, the wound was almost healed. That should have been impossible. The bite marks were still there, but the swelling and redness were gone. As a doctor, I couldn't explain it. I told myself it was nothing and went to work, but that day felt different. The hospital smelled stronger than usual. The antiseptic, the cleaning agents, the blood. Especially the blood. The scent clung to me, intoxicating and nauseating all at once. During surgery, I found myself lingering too long on the incisions. My assistant, Dr. Fujimoto, noticed. "Are you feeling all right, Ishikawa-sensei?" he asked. "I'm fine," I snapped, more harshly than I intended. But I wasn't fine. My hands were shaking, my vision blurred. The hunger was unbearable. No matter what I ate, rice, ramen, even the high-protein bars I kept in my locker, nothing helped. By the third night, I realized why. I wasn't hungry for food. It happened during one of my late-night walks. I couldn't sleep. The hunger gnawed at me, driving me out into the city. That's when I saw him, a homeless man, slumped against a wall in a dark alley. His shallow breaths and the faint pulse in his neck drew me in, like a predator sensing prey. I don't remember kneeling down. I don't remember biting him. All I remember is the warmth of his blood filling my mouth, the way it dulled the hunger, the way it made me feel alive. When I came to, His lifeless body lay crumpled at my feet. My hands were stained red, and I felt sick to my core. But the hunger was gone. I tried to justify it to myself. He was a nobody, a vagrant. No one would miss him. But deep down, I knew I had crossed a line. I avoided Ayaka, dodged her calls and questions. At the hospital, my colleagues whispered about my erratic behavior. The hunger kept returning, stronger each time, and with it came changes. My reflection began to frighten me. My eyes seemed darker, almost black in certain lights. My teeth were sharper. Even my sense of smell had heightened to the point where I could identify a patient's blood type before reading their chart. Then came the nightmares. Visions of shadowy figures, eyes glowing red, whispering in a language I didn't understand. I'd wake up drenched in sweat, only to find faint bite marks on my own skin, as if I'd been gnawing on myself in my sleep. It all came to a head 2 weeks ago. I was called into the ER for a patient who had been attacked. When I entered the room, my blood ran cold. It was the man who had bitten me. His veins were blackened, his eyes glowing faintly red. He grabbed my wrist with inhuman strength and whispered, "You're one of us now. The hunger will only grow." He flatlined moments later. When I checked the morgue later that night, his body was gone. The next day, Ayaka disappeared. I found a note on my kitchen table. "We have her. Join us or she dies." Enclosed was a photo of Ayaka tied to a chair, surrounded by shadowy figures with glowing red eyes. I tracked them to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Tokyo. The smell of blood was overpowering as I entered. The figures surrounded me, their leaders stepping forward. He held Ayaka by the hair, a knife to her throat. "Join us," he said, "or she dies." I froze. My heart pounded in my chest. The hunger surged within me, urging me to act. But my mind was screaming at me to resist. The leader's eyes locked onto mine, as if he could see the turmoil raging inside. "She's your weakness," he sneered. "Let go of your humanity, and she will live." Ayaka's muffled sobs broke me. I lunged forward, the hunger giving me strength I didn't know I had. Chaos erupted. I don't remember much. Flashes of movement, screams, blood, so much blood. When it was over, I was standing in the center of the carnage, the leader's body at my feet. Ayaka was alive but unconscious, her body limp in my arms. But something was wrong. My reflection in a shattered window showed a monster. My eyes were fully black, my teeth like fangs. I had become one of them. I took Ayaka to the hospital and disappeared into the night. I couldn't stay. I couldn't risk hurting her. I've been on the run ever since, feeding on those who won't be missed, trying to control the hunger. But it's getting harder. The monster inside me is winning. If you've read this far, stay away from the shadows. And if you ever feel the hunger, run.